ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य जनञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनुभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगुण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सवधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगुण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भास्करदेशतारिणे। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावरण्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्नि गौरतीसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणनामि हरिप्रिये। So we will read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and as we stated yesterday, when Gadadhar Prabhu raised the point about how the world is more and more in chaos these days, we have selected a verse from the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is very appropriately entitled The Divine and the Demoniac Natures. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated by and purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Kamam ashritya duspuram damba mana maddanvitaha mohat grihit vashat grahan pravartante suchivrataha. Translation. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. I'll read the word for word. The word kaman means lust. Asritya, taking shelter of. Dushpuram, insatiable. Damba, pride. mana, and false prestige, mada anvitaha, absorbed in the conceit, mohat, by illusion, grihitva, taking, asat, non-permanent, grahan, things, pravartante, they flourish, asuchi, to the unclean, vrataha, avow it. Translation: taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. Purport: the demoniac mentality is described here. The demons have no satiation for their lust. They will go on increasing and increasing their insatiable desires for material enjoyment. Although they are always full of anxieties on account of accepting non-permanent things, they still continue to engage in such activities out of illusion. They have no knowledge and cannot tell that they are heading the wrong way. Accepting non-permanent things, such demoniac people create their own God, create their own hymns, and chant accordingly. The result is that they become more and more attracted to two things: sex enjoyment and accumulation of material wealth. The word asuchi vrataha, unclean vows, is very significant in this connection. Such demoniac people are only attracted by wine, women, gambling, and meat eating. Those are their asuchi, unclean habits. Induced by pride and false prestige, they create some principles of religion which are not approved by the Vedic injunctions. Although such demoniac people are most abominable in the world, by artificial means the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding toward hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. Srila Prabhupada has given a very concise description of the present situation in the world. Although the world is meant to be guided by exemplary persons, yat yaracharati shrestas tatat deve taros sayat paramam kurute lokas taranuvartate. Whatever a great man does, others follow his example. But today we see that there are practically no great men left in the world. Rather, we have persons who are described here, asuchi, sworn to unclean acts, unclean in mind, unclean in body, and therefore unclean in behavior. And they become elected, selected to be the leaders of the world. Actually, they are not leaders, they are misleaders. Because they do not know that the purpose of life, especially human life, is to achieve love of God. Nate vidu swartakatim hi Vishnu. They don't understand that the goal is to attain Vishnu or Krishna. Human life is rarely achieved. And if one is fortunate enough to take a birth as a human being, it is very rare that one comes to the point of following the Vedic culture. That means that according to the Vedas, there are 8,400,000 different species of life, only 400,000 of which are human. So we are counted in a minority. Amongst the species, most are not human. Unfortunately, even those who take birth in the human form are also not truly human. Because a human being is one who knows what the purpose of life is. Such human beings are described as aryan. Sometimes we hear the word arya, arya samaj, or the Germans also coined this word in the Second World War to create an aryan or superhuman race of men. Actually, aryan means that one who knows the actual purpose of life. He is an aryan. It is not a national designation as the Germans wanted it to be, nor is it a sectarian designation as some who form a particular arya society may want it to be, but it includes anyone and everyone who is dedicating their life to following the order of God. That is the meaning of religion. One who follows the principles taught by the Supreme Lord. If we do not follow God's injunctions, then we are left with our state at the time of birth. When we are born in ignorance. As we can see, a child does not know what is right from what is wrong. He has to be taught. So unless we are properly educated to be Aryans, we will also follow the path as it is described here, the demoniac mentality. The demon has unlimited desires. And we see that today in the world, due to false propaganda, advertisements invite us to enjoy our senses, to gratify our senses to the utmost, with the promise that by doing so, we will find happiness. But instead of finding satisfaction or happiness, what is the result? People become more and more frustrated. Rather than being more satisfied, people are more frustrated. And what is the proof of what is the symptom of their frustration? Increase in crime, increase in drug abuse, broken marriages. These are just some examples of how the principle of sense gratification simply leads to more and more dissatisfaction, or less and less satisfaction. So, this statement by Srila Prabhupada that they have no satiation for their lust is that this is the nature of material desires. Material desires are like a fire. Lust is like a fire. And as you know, when you feed a fire, it simply increases in its heat and in size. So if you think that by trying to fulfill your material desires, you will become satisfied, it is exactly the opposite. The bigger a fire becomes, the more wood it requires to continue its size. So the more and more material desires you have, the more you desire further sense gratification in order to be satisfied. So it is exactly the opposite principle of what is actually correct. If you want to put out a fire, what is the easiest way to do it? No. Of course, you are right. But there's... you are right. In one sense, you are right, but there's another answer also. Supposing there's a big forest fire. Now, one way that it goes out is if there's nothing left to burn. Isn't it? One way is by water. I mean, we will accept your answer. Yes, I will say instead of no. Yes, you're right. And the other, you're only half right. The other half is that we should remove the fuel. If we can, stop supplying fuel, then the fire will go out of its own accord. There'll be nothing left to consume. So, this is a very nice example. Each one of us has so many material desires, which are burning, as it says here. It doesn't say, but it says in another part of the Gita, that this lust is burning like a fire within us. And there are two ways to put out this fire. One, to stop feeding the fire with fuel, which means to not continue to give more and more objects of sense, material sense gratification. This is one way. And the other way is by taking the help of the firefighters, right, who spray the water. So that means the devotees of the Lord. Because as you stop giving material sense objects to your senses, you're still craving something. So the devotees of the Lord will supply you water, you see, to put out the material fire and to nourish you in another way. The devotees will give you that most wonderful of all nourishments. What is that? The holy name of Krishna. In the association of genuine devotees, you will get to be able to chant the holy names of Krishna without any offense. And the pure holy name of Krishna will satisfy you very much. In fact, it is stated that in the present day and age, there is one religious practice, and that is the chanting of the holy names of God. All other practices are not so effective in this age as chanting God's holy name. Although there may be many other things to do, for example, to worship the deity, to visit a holy place, so many other things, but all of them are only complete when they include the chanting of the Maha Mantra, or the chanting of God's holy names. So the firefighters are those devotees who you take association of and who help you to become Krishna conscious. So both things are required. We are advising people that you should understand what is divine and what is demoniac. Divine means to follow the laws of God. Demoniac means to oppose the laws of God. Now, in Krishna consciousness, we have 4 simple principles which will ensure that you start to become divine. What are they? To give up eating meat, fish, and eggs. Why? Because these are the foodstuffs not of human beings. This is not the proper food for human beings, neither from a physical point of view, health-wise, neither from a moral point of view, nor from a spiritual point of view. Is this the proper sustenance for a human being? Next, to give up the taking of any type of intoxication. And intoxication doesn't only mean hard drugs or hard, liquor. It means anything which tends to stimulate in an unnatural way the mind or the senses. So one should avoid these. Why? Because it is impossible to control your mind and senses when you are under the effect of intoxication. And for a person whose mind and senses are out of control, what is the hope of performing yoga? And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you cannot be a yogi, then you are not progressive in spiritual life. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. We call it yoga. You may call it Christianity, you may call it Hinduism, you may call it by any other name, but the actual point is to connect with God. That is called yoga or union. And you cannot perform yoga if you can't control your mind and senses. And anyone who is under the influence of intoxication certainly has no self-control. So this is another thing. And thirdly, to give up illicit sex life. Because, as we now see throughout the world, the result of illicit sex is all types of diseases are spread. Illicit sex contaminates the body, and it also infects the mind. It disturbs the mind. Unfortunately, in today's world, it is practically the password for everything. All advertisement, almost all advertisement, is based on this principle of inducing lust within the heart of those who see the product. Everything is sold, from cigarettes to, cars to floor polishers to, you name it. It doesn't matter what it is. Somehow or other, they connect it with the principle of sex. And because everybody is so eager for illicit connections with the opposite sex, they connect it that I want that and I want the product. So, illicit sex must be foregone. And then gambling. Gambling means to speculate. And speculation means to take risk unnecessarily, and it leads to all types of misconceptions. So rather than gambling, we should do things which are certain, which are described in Scripture. And we should not speculate about what is knowledge, what is the world, what is truth, but we should accept from the principles of Scripture. This is the way of the divine, as opposed to the demoniac. So the demons increase their desires unlimitedly for material enjoyment. And although they are full of anxieties on account of inability to satisfy their desires, they never think that the cause of what is the real cause of my suffering. They're never able to penetrate the illusion. What is the illusion? That this body is not permanent. A demon has no understanding of this. That I am the soul, not the body. And that one day this body will have to be given up. But a person who's a gross materialist thinks that the body is everything. And that unless my body is satisfied or gratified, I cannot be happy. That means they identify with their body. This is illusion. A divine person knows, I am the soul. And if I am to be happy, my soul must rejoice. And the Bhagavad Gita, as all scriptures of the world, inform us that the way the soul rejoices is by union with God. And that is called yoga. And that is accomplished in this age with the simple performance of chanting the Lord's holy names. Because the name of God and God are not different. They are one and the same. So if you want to connect with God very quickly, very easily, you simply chant His holy names. How? Not with some kind of material expectation. Hare Krishna, oh Lord, give me, wealth. Hare Krishna, oh Lord, please free me from disease. Hare Krishna, oh Lord. And then you make a long list of, demands upon God. Of course, that type of chanting is not bad, but there's something better. If that's the only way you can chant, then go ahead and do it. If you say, I'm sorry, I can only chant in that way because I've got very strong desires, then still it is recommended, all right, chant in that way. Begin the chanting process. Begin to say the name of God, because God's name is all auspicious. And it will gradually help you to make your prayer more and more pure. But the purest way to chant is, oh Lord, please let me serve you. And after praying to the Lord for service, what should you next do? Come forward and serve Him. What is the use of saying, oh Lord, please let me serve you, unless you are willing to take up His service? Sometimes we go to people and we say, dear sir, would you like to become our life member? Or dear sir, how... We are deaf. We are deaf. That is our problem. It is not that the Lord is not telling. He's telling in every verse of the Gita, in every verse of the Vedas, in every verse of every scripture in the world. He's saying, please serve me. Now, to serve Krishna is not so difficult. It depends on whatever you have, you can offer to Him. He says very liberally, Patram pushpan phalantoyam yome bhakti prayachate. He says, you can offer me a leaf, a flower, some fruit, or even water, and I will accept it. He says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namashkuru. You engage your mind in thinking of me. You can bow down before me. These are things which anyone can do. To serve Krishna is so easy and so effective. It is so easy yet so effective. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna a little bit each day, you can receive so immeasurable benefit. If you just try it, you will see. One of the symptoms mentioned here is anxiety. Anxiety due to so many material desires not being fulfilled. When you chant Hare Krishna, the anxiety level immediately subsides. Why? Because instead of desiring material things, Krishna comes to you. And you begin to think, this Krishna is so nice. He is so nice. As you understand more about Krishna, that Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences, and you start to hear about Krishna from the revealed scriptures and from the realized devotees, you begin to appreciate how nice Krishna is, how beautiful he is, how merciful he is, kind he is to his devotees. Then your heart becomes satisfied with something much better than material things. So we are trying to offer you knowledge of Krishna, that you can become satisfied and free of anxiety. On the other hand, the demoniac who are described here, because they cannot accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, they have no peace of mind. None whatsoever. And so they create their own concept of religion. They propose that all of us are God. You see? That to do whatever you feel like doing is religion. And these are very common points now, that people are teaching, we are all God, or so-and-so is God, or this is God, or that is God. And whatever you feel like doing, if you really feel it, that is religion. And this is all nonsense. Prabhupada has said very clearly here that they create some principles of religion not approved by Vedic injunctions. And then they expect some false honor, and the world gives it to them. Why? Well, don't you see how rich this man is? Surely he must be a man of God. Because today, what is a sign of piety? Wealth. If someone is very rich, or someone is very beautiful, or someone is very clever, immediately everyone thinks he must either be an incarnation of God or a prophet. At least one of the two. Because they don't know how to judge true religion. And they don't know how to judge what is the religious system. Because they have no education. So our society, ISKCON, is trying to give people a proper spiritual education. And therefore we are stressing so much philosophy, the books that Prabhupada has written. That's why you see, on each side of Prabhupada, you'll see some of the books which he has written. And actually they are not simply his own books. They are the original Vedic literatures which he has translated and given the proper commentary on. And anyone who reads these books will have a very clear understanding of what is true religion. And they will immediately be able to distinguish a genuine religious person from a cheater. And they will know what the purpose of life is, what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is the standard of spiritual life. So, the topic today was how the world is becoming more and more confused. And the reason is very clear, that their people are becoming demoniac. They are sworn to demoniac habits. And the solution is equally clear: education. By education, people will give up their ignorance, and they will know what is actually the goal of life. So this education is available through the books which we distribute. It is available here through the Association of the Devotees. And you should please avail yourself of it. So we will stop here now and ask if anyone has any questions. Soon the arti will begin. Yes.
Does the Bhagavatam talk anything about Lord Maitreya? Can you please talk about that?
Does the Bhagavatam speak anything of
Maitreya?
Maitreya? Yes.
Can you please speak about that?
Why do you want to know specifically about Maitreya?
I'd like to know his connection with Krishna.
Maitreya Rishi? Maitreya Muni?
Yes.
Yeah, the best thing is that you read the section of the Bhagavatam. There's a whole section of the Bhagavatam about Maitreya Muni.
Which canto would that be?
Third canto. Third canto. A whole narration of Maitreya Rishi. You can read. Another question? Yes?
Out of 8,400,000 species, you mentioned that there are 400 human species. How long human species have existed? For billions of years, thousands of years, millions of years?
The human beings have always existed, so long there was the creation of this universe. Because the first created being is not some unicelled living entity, and from that one-celled living entity, more and more complex life forms developed. The Vedas explain that the first living being in the universe is a great human being by the name of Brahma. So there have always been human beings. But Brahma is a demigod, and from him come all of the human races. So there have always been human beings so long as this universe has existed. We don't agree with the present-day speculative material scientists that the human species only existed for some thousands or tens of thousands of years. We don't accept that. And they also don't accept that because they keep revising their figures. Now they found this bone or that toenail or something buried, 50, 500 foot in the ground, and they calculate, well, we were wrong by, 500,000 years actually, or 1 million years. Now it's, now there have been humans for at least 2 million years, or something of this. This is all speculation. They don't know. Prabhupada said when they're doing research, it means they do not know. If someone is researching, it means he doesn't know something. So we're not researching. We are accepting Vedic literature as authoritative because it's coming from the original, authority, Krishna. Who can be a better authority than God himself and his bona fide representatives? So we don't need to do research. The research is already done. We simply need to learn now from the proper authorities. Another question or comment? Question? All right, so then we will end for now, and everybody can rise and we will have the Arti ceremony. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.